Grieving the loss of a loved one, or anything that holds significant meaning or importance to our lives, can be as difficult to process and accept as it is to heal and move on from. So I wanted to share something very interesting about this process from a neurological standpoint that can be extremely helpful for those who have endured narcissistic abuse, heal, and truly move on from the betrayal trauma that comes along with these toxic relationships, as well as shed some light that will give you a better understanding and make sense as to why betrayal trauma is actually one of the most difficult situations for one to overcome, even more so than the unexpected sudden death of a loved one, and a few specific things that we can do that can literally make or break our chances of recovering from this abuse. Because though healing is individualized in the aspect of certain things work better for some than others, the degree of difficulty as well as the time it takes one to heal can vary depending on the weight of importance that we contributed to whatever it is that we're grieving. However, from the neurological standpoint, loss gets interpreted the same regardless if this loss is the death of a loved one, a breakup, losing a job, or losing a cherished item. But more importantly, especially in relation to the trauma and fundamental betrayal, is that the way that our brain rewires so that we can essentially get past this can only happen by fracturing this map of space-time that our brain has developed over the course of this relationship and currently follows in association with this individual, which can only occur when our brain gets the signal that this person is no longer available to us. They are gone. And thus, from this aspect, makes perfect sense why the death of someone that we deeply care about can be easier to recover than someone who conned us into thinking they were an entirely different creature than they truly were, just so that they could take advantage, manipulate, and psychologically torture you into a confusional, nightmarish state so that they could carry on frolicking about in fantasy land, pretending that they are more almighty than God. But unfortunately, there's a bit more to it that makes it a real doozy for our brain to be able to get this memo that it can go ahead and start rewiring anytime now. For one, because narcissists create such a clusterfuck in your mind by distorting your reality with gaslighting, blame shifting, projection, and hot and cold treatments, the high levels of constant stress and continued state of being in fight or flight, legitimately altering the way that we process thoughts and make decisions, on top of the fog of confusion. From there, intentionally seeing to it that you are sleep deprived, their deliberate insults and demeaning remarks they use to chop away at your self-esteem, confidence, and enhance your self-doubt, as well as brainwashing you to thinking that you can't survive without them, bringing about this sense of hopelessness and helplessness, so that your mind now is already in one hot, discombobulated mess. By the time you finally discover that everything about them was nothing but one long list of fraud, and that this person that you thought and believed was a relied upon anchor in your life has been repeatedly betraying you in the most fundamental ways possible, so that it not only feels like the world has fallen out from under your feet, but you're now left trapped in a dark box all alone with no apparent way out or recollection of how the hell you even got here or where here even is, outside of you sure the fuck aren't in Kansas anymore. And it's going to take a whole lot more than 3 clicks at your heel to get back to that place you used to call home, because, well, that place just got blown to smithereens and no longer exists. Because as human beings, our being able to trust others is vital in our survival and key to our having a sense of safety and security. Because the way that we structure our understanding about the world and others is based off of assumptions from past experiences and interactions. And when we trust somebody, it significantly reduces the amount of these assumptions getting driven or based off of fear. That in turn decreases our worry across the board with them from the comfort level that we have and feeling safer to be ourselves, express our feelings and opinions without being too harshly judged and or severely harmed physically or emotionally. But when this gets violated, it destabilizes everything about the past that you had with them. It destabilizes the present and completely reshapes your outlooks, aspirations, and hopes for the future that you had even just moments before. It changes the way that you perceive yourself, as well as changes your faith in humanity, and is the biggest culprit behind this feeling like the world has just fallen out from underneath of you. Because in an instant, your whole world and everything that you once knew it to be has changed. It erases this sense of security and safety and puts you in an entirely different place without moving a muscle. And what makes it even more difficult when this occurs during narcissistic abuse is due to being already in this constant state of fight or flight. Makes it almost impossible for you to be able to think things through stemming from logic and reason, on top of, rather than getting any kind of explanation or closure or anything from the narcissist, they either just give you one of their silent treatments that only enhances the crazy making going on in your head, or continue to deter, deflect, and project everything onto you, further gaslighting you into thinking that everything that happened was your fault, feeling like we are utterly alone. And even if you could figure out a way to explain it, you have no one to explain it to, because they have already wiped out your entire support system and used triangulation to make it feel like there is not a soul in this world that you could rely on, nor would you even want to at this point, as they have just annihilated any sense of trust that you ever had. And we either get stuck ruminating and constantly going down this road of trying to make sense of what's going on out of the same mental toolbox that we would anyone else, which won't on. Or we do things to distract, avoid, or pack down these feelings just to make it slightly more tolerable that too will never work, even if we can't feel it or see it at the moment. But at some point, it is going to come out rearing its ugly head, as well as it is slowly, continuously eating you away, literally, at the inside, festering and brewing within, that can bring about these triggers even years later. Why, the more we lean in to these emotional states and sit and actually feel all of these feelings, dealing with this betrayal trauma, controlled way, be that of talking through it with someone else, bawling your eyes out into a pillow, or going out into the middle of the woods and screaming at the top of your lungs to get these pent up feelings out. And with me personally, I found having at it with my hammer was tremendous. Get this out, but yet was still in a constructive way, as I was constructing a piece of furniture, window box, or birdhouse. And rather than burying them deep, validating that these feelings are there, that they exist, that they are legitimate, makes it at least a little bit easier then to be able to radically accept the brutal, harsh reality of all of it, in that they were not who you thought that they were, that they are not going to change, that you're not going to get closure, that you are going to lose some things that you don't think or feel that you justly should have to lose, but that it is what it is, as well as coming to the acceptance this was not your fault, that you did not deserve this, nor was there anything that you could have done to help them, to save them, to have changed the outcome, or anything about the way that this ended. And that as much as you didn't deserve it and are worth so much more than to have been duped in by these demonic con artists so that they could take advantage of you and suck the life from your being. It happened. It was real. And as much as it hurts, that is unfortunately the sad reality of where you are. And there's no way to undo it, but there absolutely is a way through it, and one to which doesn't result in your refraining from wanting to be an active, functioning participant in society because of this overhanging fear and unresolved trauma within you from the things that they have done. And the only way out of that is literally through it, by facing these fears and the insecurities and acceptance of all of it, and then doing things to consciously start this rewiring to occur, like by writing down what it is that you're trying to face, the insecurities that you have, feelings that you have. Just jot it down, as the act of writing forces our brain to start working from the prefrontal cortex, as well as what you can do to get yourself in a calmer state, decrease your anxiety. And one of the best ways to do this are activities that help decrease our heart rate, such as yoga or different breathing methods. And if you absolutely cannot cut them off entirely or completely go no contact, do not associate with them by the name or nickname that you used to. Change it in your phone. Get rid of any unnecessary items that you can, down to your wedding bands or rings, which can be hard to do. And again, some that you may not feel like you need to lose, but keeping them around you is only going to be that little reminder that your brain needs that they're still available. And as much as we want to try to convince ourselves that we're fine and we don't need anybody and we can go about living our life in our little isolated caves and not have to worry about getting hurt again, we are essentially keeping ourselves in the same situation that we just got out of, minus their insults and demeaning remarks hurled at our head. And before you know it, it will start seeping back in and will drive you crazy and keep you in this depressive state. And that's not to say necessarily that it needs to be a romantic relationship, even if it's just getting you to the point where you can once again reestablish relationships with the friends and family that you had in the past, or go out and make new friends. And by educating yourself on the red flags and knowing what to look out for, you can have the confidence and ability to believe in yourself that you'll be able to pick up on it, which obviously rebuilding your confidence, your self-esteem, and your ability to trust your own judgment has to come first. But you can eventually get there. That's not to say that it's going to be easy and that it's not going to require work, but you are completely worth it, and it is doable. They had no right to strip the life that you had out from underneath of you, and are not worth the satisfaction of taking you out for good. Fuck them and fuck that. Get your life back. Fight for you. Save you. Do the things that bring you joy and build your confidence and faith in yourself, and know that you can and are worth doing it for, because you truly are. In the past is exactly where they should be, as these people are not your friend. They are not your soulmate. They are not your family in the sense of how we attribute to family. These people do have your best interest at heart. They do not have your well-being in mind. They are completely out for themselves with a total disregard for others. And the best thing that you can do for you and them is to cut their ass off. Fight for you. Save you. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist.